Taebyn, this is our 10th episode.
It is. That's so exciting. 10th. It's like dodecahedrons. No, not really or something, but 10th.
Yay, 10! Woohoo!
And many more to come. I'm so excited. Wag wag.
Wag wag. This is Barely Furcasting, featuring Taebyn, an Injured Nerves audio production.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to Barely Furcasting, featuring Taebyn. I am Barely Normal, and you are?
My name is Taebyn. I am a pup. Bark bark. And it's great to be here once again.
It is great to be here once again, and today is Independence Day.
It's true.
That's the day that our nation was born.
Is there pup tendons?
Pup tendons?
I guess when you have to tend to your pup as a pup tendons day? No? Oh.
No.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, you mean pup dependence as opposed
Pup?
to independence.
Yes.
You have pup dependence.
I do, actually, don't I?
Yes, you do. So let's see what else is going on. Oh, so, the 4th of July, Independence Day. There's a lot of people all locked up and not doing their things this year because of the COVIDations. So we have to just kind of make do. And I'm used to doing big fireworks show. For those that
You
don't know,
are.
I'm a licensed pyrotechnician, and I do big fireworks shows every year for the 4th of July. This year, my show was canceled. So I have to get my explosions out somehow. So I went and bought one of those big, huge packages at the local fireworks stand, and we'll shoot that off tonight when it gets dark in the neighborhood. And for those that don't know, where I live is the state of Oregon, and you are not allowed to have fireworks that fly in the air for the consumers. You're only allowed to have little sparkler things and stuff that run around on the ground. And
Really?
yeah, it's kind of boring.
What?
I know. It's just kind of like, ooh, sparklers, yay.
Yay, Oregon or something. Like you can watch a snake all day long, right?
Yes, you can watch a snake goes.
It's
It's like, woo.
Woo!
And
That's
you
exciting.
can little sparklers and little things that shoot fountains of sparks, and that's very, very exciting.
I was always scared of sparklers.
Of
I like
course you
it'd
were.
be fine to watch others do it, but like in my pauses, it always scared to have in my pauses. I thought it might burn my pauses off.
Well, it would also burn your fur.
I know. Well, we'll get to the fur first. Fur first.
For first.
So there's lots of reasons for this pup. What's a tup? Pup. This pup to be scared. What is already? I don't know what's going on.
We have a few minutes before we're going to try our last try for the 5-minute furs for fun.
Ooh, let's hope that some fur logs on.
Before we do that, let's hear about your tail. Any news on the tail, front or back?
Or back, as the case may be. Yeah, a little bit. So you might remember last week, I talked about how I wanted to share my newfound experiences with other animals out there, because I've been getting pretty good at chasing tail and catching tail. Last week, you might remember I went out and tried to help a squirrely out with it, but I scared Squirrely and Squirrely ran away. So this week, I saw Squirrely again, and he was out there. I just went carefully on pausies and I didn't sneak up, because a sneak up pup is a scary pup. So I crept up on pausies in a non-threatening manner up to Squirrely. And Squirrely was just there on his feces eating his walnut or some, I don't know what it was. He was eating something. So I went up and I carefully went up and did a quiet bark as a hi. He stayed there and kept nibbling away. And then I pet his tail. He had a nice big fluff tail. And I pet his tail, and he seemed to like that. So then I went over and I chased my tail clockwise, because I thought, well, now he's going to know, right? And instead, he looked at me in a very confused manner. I don't know. Maybe it's because I just suddenly went away and chased my tail, and he finished his eating and ran away. So I think I just confused him scare away. So I'll try being less confusing this week and see what happens.
So you tried to help him, but did you catch yours?
Well, not in that little moment. Maybe that's why, because Squirrel didn't realize what I was doing, because I didn't catch, because he just looked at me confusedly and ran away. So I didn't have a chance to really show him the mastery that I was trying to perform for him to help him out.
Awesome.
Very possum and our 3 listeners. I hope you're still listening after that story.
Okay. All right. So I'm posting the link now.
The link is being posted.
Link is posted. It's up on the chat. We have 10 minutes. 10 minutes and counting.
And we're not just going to wait to see, but we might wait to ocean too.
Ooh, can we pond?
We can, only if you want to get money for it, because then you have pond.
Then you have pond. Okay.
I don't know if any fur actually got that, but it was a really bad pun.
10 minutes later. All right, well, 10 minutes are up and no one came in. Oh, well, we will have to try again next week. I have taken down the link.
Yeah, I think it would be worth it to try it again because, like, the last 2 weeks we got nothing, but this week we're at least getting people saying, I want to. They're just not. So give
Yeah.
them another chance.
Actually, let's back that up a little bit.
Oh,
I think maybe we won't try it next week, but the week after, because next week we have a special guest.
we do. That's true.
And I would like to have a little more time with that special guest because he's pretty darn special. It's Kyle Gold.
Author. I have several of his books and have even read some of them. I'm excited. That'll be pretty exciting to have him on.
Yeah, so we may talk to him a little bit longer than normal. All right, well, let's move along then. So we have no guest this week. One of the reasons we have no guests is because it is, of course, a holiday weekend.
Hi, holiday.
No, it's not a high holiday,
Oh.
unless you're Jewish. But then even then, it's not a high holiday.
Okay. That's good to know. It's good to learn these things.
And it's also not a holiday for weed, although a lot of people do get high on the 4th of July.
And if you're in the state of Hawaii, then you I'm just going to stop there. How's that?
That's a good idea. All right. So let's move along. Have we got any update on the pajamas, or is everything just copacetic?
Everything's been pretty copacetic this week. You know, I'm feeling bad for the polar bears. Like they might be feeling left out because I keep like switching between the light and dark wolfies. So I feel I need to bring the polar bears back into the mix. So I apologize to them. But other than that, everything's been going pretty well, I think. We'll see what the next week has to bring.
Awesome. Anything new on television? I haven't watched anything new this week with the weather being somewhat nice. I've been doing work at home for my job. And then, of course, I've been working outside and I haven't had a chance to watch. I think I've watched one television program in the last week.
Only one. It has been really nice out there. Let's see. I finished the current season of Mike and Molly, and I started season 2 of The Goldbergs, which I think you've seen before. Didn't you say you've seen?
Oh, yes. I've seen all of The Goldbergs.
We watched the first season a while ago, and, you know, we do the rotational thing. And so I started season 2, and it's continuing to be great. And that's the TV. So any fur that's out there, you know, leave us little comments on the webpage about what you think of the Goldberg, what new television you've been watching. Interact with us because we want to know. And this is the way we first interact right now. So let us know what you think.
Well, I guess we should move right into furries in the news.
Furries in the news.
The big thing in the news this week, of course, is the documentary, The Fandom.
Oh, yes. That's exciting. There's been a lot of hype for that.
There has been. And it released yesterday, July 3rd, on Amazon Prime, YouTube, and it came out on Blu-ray, and you could pay for a digital download.
Yes.
Now, I haven't watched it yet. Have you watched it yet?
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I pre-ordered it, so I got it. But yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but there's been a lot of good hype about it, and I'm pretty excited.
So I'm thinking maybe we should do a special episode where we just talk about the movie.
Ah, that'd be cool. Yeah, definitely.
Let's plan on that. Let's do that. So fans, stay tuned. Once we see the movie, we'll do a special Barely Furcasting featuring Taebyn, where we only talk about the movie, The Fandom. Now, if you haven't heard about this movie, it's a new documentary, and it chronicles the history of the furry nation. I didn't realize we were a nation, but apparently we are. It explores how the sci-fi and anime fans more interested in the anthropomorphic animals in their favorite shows and movies than the human characters split off into their own community in the 70s and 80s. I did not realize the fandom's been around for that long.
Yes, definitely. Joe Strike, which I believe I saw is actually in the Fandom documentary. Joe Strike wrote a book. Actually, one of the other few books I've read. I read a few years ago. He has this great book called Furry Nation, and it talks a lot about the history of fandom and everything. And it was a really good read, so I recommend that too. But yeah, it started long ago. Well, long ago, meaning late 70s, is where it really started to come into play.
Okay, so Taebyn,
Hi.
are we having a story time this week?
I do have a story. So I have another one of these politically correct things. It's called The City Mouse and the Suburban Mouse. Now, this would be the political version of the City Mouse and the Country Mouse.
Yes.
Barely, have you heard the story of the City Mouse and the Country Mouse?
I have, and I've seen several iterations of this story. I'm interested to hear yours.
Hopefully you first have heard the original story so you can understand this rendition. If not, I'm sure this rendition will be wonderful and correct for you in a political way. Here's the story of the City Mouse and the Suburban Mouse. A mouse who lived in the suburbs had an old friend who lived in the city. One day he invited his friend to come out for a visit. The City Mouse readily accepted the invitation, eager to see his pal and enjoy some greenery for a change. So on the duly appointed day, he walked to the Central Mass Transit Dispatch Point and took a train out to the end of the line. Upon arrival in the suburbs, the City Mouse began to look for his friend's house. Of course, he was used to straight numbered streets and quickly got lost amidst the wide lawns, curving roads, and cul-de-sacs. That's totally a suburban place to be, right? After several hours of searching through the valley dales, the dally vales, and nettle brooks, and Brenton nooks, by sheer luck, he found his friend's address. The Suburban Mouse had gone to great lengths to make this a memorable visit, even buying a big floral centerpiece to match the napkins and placemats on its table. How very nice and sophisticated of this mousey. He'd laid out a sizable feast for his guest. Macaroni and cheese, creamed corn, even Jell-O salad with mandarin orange wedges.
Not Mandalorian?
No, we're not like zooming away like Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future. Was that a Mandalorian?
No, a Mandalorian's from Star Wars.
Oh, so he's not in space, and he's not Michael J. Fox. He's a mouse.
That's a DeLorean.
DeLorean. Okay, so back to
moving
right along. Oh my cow. Mandarin orange wedges, right. The City Mouse ate a bit of each dish, but couldn't help but showing his disdain for such mundane fare. The unnatural quiet was also beginning to get to him. The only sounds he could hear were the clicks of lawn sprinklers and the roar of distant riding mowers. After dinner, the Suburban Mouse handed the City Mouse a no-alcohol light beer and suggested that they do a little channel surfing to pass the time. The City Mouse said, "My friend, life is too short to live this way. Look at you. Your food is dull. Maybe his foot is dull too, but so is his food. Your food is dull. Your entertainment is dull. Even your hairstyle is 15 years behind the time." The Suburban Mouse was taken aback, especially by the comment about his hairstyle. "Heavens, what should I do? Come visit me in the city next week," was the reply, "and we'll enjoy more diversity and excitement than you've ever dreamed of. I'll show you I don't know if he said it like that, but I got excited. "I'll show you the life that's fit for a healthy young mouse." So the next week, the Suburban Mouse headed into the city. He was a little late arriving because it took him 2.5 hours to find a parking space. Oh my cow.
Well, that is the problem with the big city.
I wonder if he had to go up in those little like three-dimensional things where you have to drive around in circles and go up in a spiral or something. As he stepped out of his car, he was asked for a monetary donation by someone supporting himself outside the reigning capitalist paradigm. What an interesting fellow he came upon. That was me, that wasn't the book. The vehement language and uncompromising natural aroma of the street citizens startled the Suburban Mouse, who fell over backwards into the gutter. Oh no. After he picked himself up from the crime, what is even this story? After he picked himself up from the grime, 2 police officers began to harass him about his I don't know what.
alive?
I am okay. Oh, this is so funny. Okay. After he picked himself up from the grime, 2 police officers began to harass him about interfering with the quality of life, those were air quotes right there, in the neighborhood, and inquired whether he would be so kind as to refrain from showing his stupid face there again, or he'd be buying himself a mess of trouble. But yes, a mess of trouble. The suburban mouse sagely took their advice and trotted away. A half block away from his friend's apartment, the visitor was interrupted by a former client of the correctional system who liberated the mouse's watch and wallet in return for a gracious offer of letting him walk away in one piece. Shaken, Soren spun around. Cohesive. Now, I have to say, if any fur that's listening to this gets the reference to what we just did, the cohesive, I am so buying you cookies and giving you many hugs, because like, if you actually get that reference, I love you so much. The suburban mouse finally reached his friend's building. No sooner had he been done so than the city mouse ran down the front steps. "Where you been? Come on, we're late for our dinner reservations." "But he squeaked breathlessly, his paw over his heart. "I was just mugged and, forget about it." And the two of them rushed off to dinner. The city mouse had chosen a new exclusive restaurant that combined the cuisines of Jamaica and Tibet in an original way. Its most popular dish was the jerk yak. Okay. There was a long line of customers waiting outside the restaurant, but the mice enjoyed a private dining area in the alley by the kitchen. They feasted on scraps of some of the finest and costliest fare in the entire city. The suburban mouse didn't recognize any of the food, wouldn't have been able to pronounce the names if he had, but he was thoroughly enjoying himself. His earlier troubles faded into the background as he gobbled away hungrily next to his friend. Then they slipped out for cappuccino and cannolis. Or is it cannoli? Cannolis. So that's what they did. They did the cannolis. The suburban mouse was entranced by all the activity and diversity around him. All the yelling and laughing, cars honking, music playing. Nighttime in the city seemed even more vibrant and alive than daytime in the suburbs. A vast and wonderful panorama he never knew existed was unfolding before him with dazzling speed. On the way home, in front of the Tropical Pet and Retread tire store, a pair of unlicensed sex workers tried to engage them in conversation. "Hey, tell us, how about a little transaction in the personal services sector?" said one with refreshing candor about the true nature of all male-female relationships. This pup has no idea what it's talking about, but I assume it has something to do with the satay. The suburban mouse thought this was all marvelously colorful and authentic, and he began to ask the sex care providers where on earth they went shopping for their boobs. The city mouse, not wishing to cause a scene, grabbed his friend's arm to lead him away and continued walking. Just past the 24-hour copy shop in Marital Aids Emporium, a man came up to try and sell them some watches. Such an exciting life in the city. The suburban mouse thought one of the watches looked suspiciously familiar. Oh yeah, because he got the taken from, yeah, I remember. But they still kept walking. Finally, on the street where he had parked his resource-guzzling, air-befouling automobile, he could find no trace of it. They towed it away, he stammered. Forget about it. The other mouse said, the city mouse. Isn't this an exciting tale of heroism and congruency? Barely. That's not the story. That's a legit question from me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was mesmerized by the story.
I know, right?
Oh, answer the question again.
The question was something along the lines of, isn't this an exciting tale of bewilderment and behoozletree?
Oh yes, definitely. Definitely a riveting tale, because I was riveted.
You're riveted, and there's not even a frog involved, but you're riveted instead.
Uh-huh.
So, To our now one listener, we've gone from
Yeah.
4-1 after this story. I apologize. 5 floors up in the City Mouse's studio apartment, they capped their night off with a bit of Armagnac. The City Mouse said, "See the excitement you're missing living way out in the sticks where you do." "Oh, I do," the Suburban Mouse said earnestly. "This has all really opened my eyes. Life here has so many possibilities. I can never thank you enough for such a wonderful night." Forget about it. "No, really, this has been a groundbreaking evening," said the Suburban Mouse. "I feel so alive. It feels like life is a huge Broadway musical, and I've got the chance to play the lead."
Well, they sound like they're in a Broadway musical right now.
It really does, doesn't it? So it's very befitting. "This evening has been allowed me to accept things I've never had before, and I'm so grateful to you that I want you to be the first to know. I'm coming out of the wainscoting." You're what?" asked the Sitting Mouse. I'm attracted to other mice," he said. "Well, it's a good thing, seeing as you're a mouse and everything." "No," said the Suburban Mouse. "I'm talking about mice of my own gender." After an infinitesimal pause, the City Mouse exclaimed, "That's great! Thank you for sharing that with me. It's not exactly my piece of cheese, you understand, but I applaud your acceptance of who you are. If I can help you in any way, help in a general sense, that is, don't hesitate to ask." "Since you mention it," the Suburban Mouse said, "would you allow me to stay here with you until I can sell my baseboard in the suburbs?" Although the City Mouse didn't really have enough room in his own place, what could he do but welcome his friend and lend him support as he embarked, rough, bark, bark, rough, rough, on his new life? Tempers flared a few times, such as when the City Mouse scratched a couple of his friends Julie Garland's records. But things went smoothly overall. In a few months, the ex-Suburban Mouse found his own place downtown, as well as many new friends and interests. And every Halloween, the City Mouse and the ex-Suburban Mouse got together for the big parade and celebrated another life saved from the shackles of monotonous middle-class conformity. The end. Okay.
I have to say, I did not see that twist coming.
No. Good for maybe they're in New York or San Francisco.
It's good that the country mouse, well, not the country, the suburban mouse has now come out and is proud urban mouse.
Proud rainbow furred mouse ways.
Well, thank you for that wonderful story.
Well, you're welcome. I hope we still have one listener left after that.
I hope so. I hope so. If not, we have now picked up a whole new demographic.
That's very, very true.
Yeah.
Oh my cow.
All right, moving along.
Moving right along.
How are things on the math front? Anything math related this week?
2 things. I have a little story. It's a very riveting tale. I want to read just, the first 1.5 paragraphs from Differential Forms in Algebraic Topology by Bott and Tu. Raoul Bott and Loring 2. This is a classic. This is a really great book. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is chapter 1. It's about de Rham theory. And this first section is called the de Rham complex on Rn. And it goes, to start things off, we define in this section the de Rham cohomology and compute a few examples. This will turn out to be the most important diffeomorphism invariant of a manifold. Are you excited? It's the most important.
The most important.
It's the most important diffeomorphism invariant of a manifold. I cannot wait to continue this, as I'm sure neither can you. So let x1 up to xn be the linear coordinates on Rn. Of course, we're talking about n-dimensional Euclidean space. Duh. We define omega star to be the algebra over the real numbers generated by dx1 up to dxn, where of course the dx1 up to dxm are the differentials of the linear coordinates of Rn that we're talking about. And we have certain relations. The dxi squared is 0 and they're anti-commutative. As a vector space over R, this is exciting now. This is the important part. Well, one of the important parts. Omega star has a basis consisting of certain products of these differentials. Isn't that exciting?
I can't describe my excitement level.
I can tell. I hear it in your voice. And guess what? We will define the C infinity differential forms on Rn to be elements of the tensor product over R of the C infinity functions on Rn with our friend omega star. This is just riveting and amazing. Can you believe this?
I suppose I could if I understood any of it.
Well, let me just spoiler alert. I'll stop right there and let you read on and get all the details. But spoiler alert: the differentials, the d of the differential forms, they turn out to be an exterior derivative. And since d squared equals 0, we get a chain complex via these differentials, and it's called the de Rham complex. And if you take the homology of this chain complex, you get the de Rham cohomology, and this is what turns out to be, as you might remember me saying, the most important diffeomorphism invariant of a manifold. So there's an amazing story that just unfolded right in front of you.
Wow. I have to say that I'm getting a complex of some sort
Good.
over
I'm
that.
really glad to help with your complex. Again, for every fur that's out there that wants to continue this amazing story, the book is Differential Forms in Algebraic Topology by Bott and Tu. But I do have another math thing that's a little more comprehensible for some furs, maybe.
Okay.
So, and you might need a calculator for this or to write something down because you're going to have to do some arithmetic. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay, so think of a number and don't tell me what that number is.
Okay.
I'm going to do a little math magic here. So remember that number, write it down.
Okay.
Multiply that number by 3. It can be any number. It doesn't have to be 1 digit. It doesn't have to be 5 digits. It can be any number you want. So take that number and multiply it by 3.
Multiply that number by 3. Okay.
Now take that and add 6. Now what you get there, divide that number by 3.
Okay.
Subtract your original number that you thought of from that number that you just got. Now, don't tell me
Okay.
what it is. Tell me when you did that.
I did that.
I'm thinking in my little pup fluff brain. I think the answer you got is 2.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
It's mathemagic.
Mathemagic.
Mathemagic. And actually, it's all just based on simple algebra. If you write down the algebra, you'll figure it out. Kind of similar on that note, you might remember last time we talked about divisibility rules, the thing
Yes.
where you can multiply by 9 and it all comes back to 9 and that stuff. A similar thing based on that is kind of interesting. I mean, it's the same type of idea, but I think it's pretty cool. Take any 3-digit number that have the same 3 digits, 333 or 444 or whatever. Now, if you add up all those digits and then take that, divide that by the original 3-digit number, you will always get 37.
Yes, I did.
And that's just based on the divisibility rules that I talked about last time. So there's a lot of really cool, interesting things in math in general, but even just in the integers. And these are, the numbers, things that anyone, it doesn't matter your mathematical background, anyone knows about. So anyone can appreciate this cool stuff.
Wow.
That's my math stuff for this week.
I always learn so much when we talk about math. That brings us to our session on this or that.
This or that. Ta, ta, ta.
Our first this or that. Do you prefer to be the passenger or the driver?
Definitely the passenger, because then I can put little puppy head out window and the wind and air in my fluffy face and fur is just so wonderful and I love it so much. And I can't do that if I'm driving with pausies. I mean, I guess I could, but that's kind of dangerous from what I hear. And so if I'm passenger, I don't have to worry about it.
I would agree. I would
Yeah.
agree. It'd be very hard to drive with your head out the window because I've tried it a few times and
It just didn't work?
just didn't work.
Okay.
So my next one, book or a movie?
For any fur that's been paying attention to the pupcast here, you won't be surprised to hear that I say movie. This pup doesn't read many books, has read several books, but not too many. I like the movies because, I don't know, just you see all the action and everything. Although some of the books I've read recently are pretty fun, though. It is fun to read, it turns out.
Because reading is fundamental. And only the gray muzzes in the audience will know that reference, by the way.
Oh, snap.
So any gray muzz that listens and you knew that, reach out to us and tell us you knew that.
I'll be really interested to see if any gray muzz that. So comment on the website.
Okay, sweet or salty?
Sweet. Oh, sweet. That needs no explanation. Just duh.
And the last one, which may take a lot of explanation on your part, circles or squares?
Circle. Actually, so okay. From a mathy point of view, circles have infinite amount of rotational symmetry. So squares have what they call, they have symmetries, right? They're symmetric around the vertical and the horizontal and stuff. Okay, great. So meaning they look the same whether or not you flip them over or not. And they also have what they call rotational symmetry. You can rotate it 90 degrees and it still looks the same. And so you can do that 4 times, and you didn't know you were getting into more math now, did you? Well, you probably did actually.
I kind of did.
So it has what they call, quote unquote, fourfold symmetry, in that you can rotate it 4 times and you're symmetric each time. A circle has infinite, I mean, you could say it infinite fold symmetry, in that, you can rotate it many, many times and still have the same thing. So from that perspective, a circle is pretty aesthetically pleasing because of all this infinite rotational symmetry you have. But squares are pretty nice in that, they're nice and rigid and they just sit there and great. And they're a great way to explain the math field of group theory. And of course, that appeals to me too. So I have to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll go with circle, because did you know? Well, you might have known there's a reason that manhole covers are circle and not square. Do you know why?
Because a circle cannot fall into itself.
A circle cannot fall into itself where a square can. Exactly. So that kind of makes it pretty special too. So all this means I'm going to go with circle.
Well, a circle it is, and circle gets the square. Another Grey Muzz reference.
It is. Oh, so many Grey Muzz. That was the celebrity. What was it called?
Hollywood Squares.
Hollywood Squares. Yeah. Duh.
Duh. Yes. With Paul Lynde in the center. Anyway, that brings us to the end of our podcast. Now, I want to point out that we have a lot of upcoming guests on our future shows. We're going to have Ruckus.
I'm so excited about that. She's written some really great books. Those are some of the books I've actually read, and she's an amazing artist. Oh, so amazing. I buy art from her at every con I go to.
I know you do. I've seen this. You buy from her. You're always torn, and then you don't remember what you've got already.
That's
and
true.
So then you wind up buying sometimes duplicates. And then we have, of course, we already mentioned that we have Kyle Gold for next week's show. We're going to have Temperance, also known as Momo Mouse.
Momo Mouse. That's exciting. I'm really excited.
Also known as Dragon Mom. So she's going to talk to us about all of that stuff. And then we have Uncle Kage joining us.
Uncle Kage is great. Yeah, no, he's a great guy. Got lots of good stories. That'll be really cool to talk to him.
We've got others lined up that haven't committed yet, but those who have committed to be on our show. So remember to like and subscribe, listen to your pod on all of your favorite pod platforms. We're still waiting for Pandora, but we're getting closer. So if you're listening on Pandora...
That's exciting.
If you're listening on Pandora, you're not hearing this.
But maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future you'll hear this, yes. All right. So Taebyn, again, happy 4th of July. Be safe out there tonight.
Yes.
Do not put sparklers in your fur.
In my posies or fur. Yep, I will remember. I promise. Not just promise, but promise.
I promise that you do not do that, because I do not want to visit you in the burn ward.
Yeah, and then we won't have a podcast for next week, so we got to do that.
Well, we could do it live from the burn ward.
There you go. But maybe it's probably best not. So I'll try not to get too excited about that.
All right. And I promise that I will not burn myself or blow myself up either.
That's exciting. I'm happy about that.
All right. Well, with that, thanks for joining us, everyone. And we will see you all here next week.
Bye-bye. Have a good day. Bark, bark.
Barely Furcasting is an Injured Nerves studio production. It is found on all major podcast platforms and can also be listened to directly at barelyfurcasting.com. All opinions expressed here are those of Taebyn and Barely, and neither received any commercial compensation for their opinions. The Furcast is recorded and edited by me, Barely Normal, also known as Mike Began. Opening, interstitial, and closing music by Shane Ivers through silvermansound.com. If you would like to send us a message, you can do so via email at barelyfurcasting@gmail.com or on Telegram chat at BFFTchat. Additionally, Taebyn can be reached on social media at TaebynPup on YouTube and Twitter. Thanks for listening. We hope to see you back here next week.